Hi there! In this unboxing video we're going to be looking at two new box sets from Warlord Games for Black Powder. They're the Prussian Hussars and the Prussian Uhlans. So let's put those to one side for a minute and get straight into the Prussian Hussars, have a look at them together and see what we've got. First of all, we've got some bubble wrap. Inside there we're going to have the mounted figures, the cavalrymen themselves, and in this box set we've got 12 figures in total. Let's have a look what the spread is to start with. Now these are made of Warlord Resin, which is that newish material that Warlord have been using, which is a kind of cross between plastic and resin. It's quite flexible. If you've had a go with it, you'll know what it's about. It's quite flexible and it's also quite cheap. So these figures are, as I say, 12 in a pack for £24. That makes them £2 each, if my maths are correct. So as I say, quite reasonably priced, but are they worth it? Let's have a look. So we've got 3 of that guy. We've got 3 of that guy. And we've got 3 of that guy. So we've got one Hussar with his sabre thrust forward, one with his sabre over his head, and one with a sabre upright, like so. Right, let's have a closer look. Oh, the other 3. So the other 3 we've got here are the bugler. We've got the one looks like a commander because he's got his jacket slung over his shoulder in commander style. And then we've got a guy who's got a bandage on his head. So at least we didn't get 3 of him. Right, so as you can see, there's a bit of flesh on these figures here, which maybe you can even just pull off. No, not quite. It's quite flexible. So we can we'll take a bit of a knife to that, and I bet it comes off really easily. Yeah, it comes off very easily. You can just cut these fleshy bits off. So what we're looking at are Prussian Hussars for Napoleonic Wars, pretty much covering as many bases as possible, as much of the war as possible. And we've got them with shakos on that are covered by the look of it, covered with oilskins probably to protect them, and they've got overalls on as well, riding overalls, so they've got that more of a campaign look about them. And they've got their cloak roll as well, so they've got a cloak rolled around them, which of course offered some protection as well as some warmth when they needed it. Yeah, these fleshy bits do cut off really easily, and with a bit more cleaning up, I'm sure that'll be nice and straight. I mean, that is very bendy, but there's nothing wrong with that, and the detail is actually really good. The detail on the figures' faces is really good. It's interesting because there's 2 here, the same figure, that actually he's more detailed than him. It's as if it's yeah, the detail shows quite a bit better on this guy's hand than it does on that guy's hand, even though it's the same figure. So the material can obviously be different within the pack. He's got more flash on. He's got quite a bit more flash on than this guy as well. But all in all, they're very nicely detailed figures. Yeah, like I say, we've got the bugler there as well, and yeah, the leader. So just let's put those to one side for a second and have a quick look at the horses. The horses themselves. We've obviously got 12 of those, 1 for each man. And immediately let's check how the figures sit on the horses. Well, they certainly sit nicely. Now that's quite a nice proud horse there. We've got again a bit more flash, which will come off quite easily. This one's a little bit odd. It's got that sort of camel neck thing going on, and yes, its legs are in quite interesting positions. And when the guy's seated on there, it is certainly on the small side, you would say, as a horse. I mean, it's the man's about the same size as the horse, I would say. Really, I'm really impressed with the men themselves, the cavalrymen themselves. The horses have got a bit of a sort of fairground look about them. Yeah, I mean that's got a big bit of flash on there. Let's just take that off. Ooh, that might be. Perhaps we need a clip of that. But again, it comes off fairly easily. Giving a bit of work. Yeah, he's sitting very low, isn't he? Once he's on the horse, he's only about 4 feet off the ground, if that. 3 feet off the ground. So yeah, the cavalrymen themselves really look good. The detail on the horses is good as well, but it's just that I'm not sure the design is quite so good. Let's just put those to one side. So that's the Hussars, and at the same time the Hussars appeared on the scene for sale. The Prussian Uhlans did as well. So let's have a look at those. Picture on the cover implies a bit more of a parade ground look, less campaigny than the Hussars were. Let's have a look if that's the case. Of course, these resin figures bounce around really nicely. You can chuck them about with no problem. In fact, I've thrown one on the floor somewhere. So the horses then. The horses are the same. So the horses in the pack are the same as the Hussars. So they've got more of the figures are a bit more parade groundy, but the horses are more campaigny. But we've had a look at those horses, so they're the same ones that you get in both packs. And now we'll have a look at the cavalrymen themselves, the Uhlans themselves. This little frame here has got the lancers on, which of course was their archetypal weapon. We've got one here with an extra arm on and a bugle on, so to make the commander and the bugler a little bit more dynamic. Nice faces again on these figures. I'm expecting that we've got 3 different kinds here, plus the command figures again. So we have, so as I say, we've got the bugler with his separate arm, we've got a commander with a separate arm as well, and 3 different types. I think 3 different types. Gosh, he's got quite a grimace on his face, that guy. Again, it's interesting to see the way that the material has come out, looking. Those 2 are the same figure but look quite different just due to the material that's been used on them. So yeah, these have definitely got a bit more of a campaign look about them. They've got less of a campaign look, more of a parade ground look about them. The shekels are not covered on these figures. They've got no cloak roll on them either. But again, really, nice looking figures. But yeah, the detail does differ between one figure to the other. Again, these little bits of flesh. Well, that's not a little bit of flesh. That's his flesh. That's his sword. So we won't cut that off. But any that is there, we can cut off really easily. Again, they'll ultimately sit quite nicely on the horses, I'm sure. Ooh, you tend to get this big block of flash on the horse there. But yeah, they sit very nicely on there. Let's have a look at these lancers then. So I think probably clippering them off is the best idea. Clippering the lancers off. These are really flexible. So I think actually, of course, a metal lance would be quite flexible as well, but it's a lot more flexible than a plastic one would be. I mean, that's really bendy. Whether that will give you any problems when you're putting them on the figure, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm just cutting these little bits off and let's see how they fit into that arm there, into the hand there. Well, I mean, it doesn't fit without some attention, but I'm sure given a bit of glue, it's quite thin compared to the hole in his hand. But yeah, you'd be able to get that in there, no problem. And I'm sure once it's on the horse and once it gets painted up, I'm sure that's going to look pretty cool. Shows one with a big thing on his bum, so that's not going to sit on the horse properly. But yeah, so ultimately there's some really nice detail. I'm not a big fan of the horses. They're serviceable, but the cavalrymen themselves have got some nice detail on them, and it's come out quite well in the resin as well. And for £2 for that figure's pretty good going, I would say. So yeah, some nice looking figures, which as you can see by the packaging will paint up really well, I'm sure, in their archetypal blue uniforms. So that's the Prussian Uhlans and the Prussian Hussars from Warlord Games.
This video has been brought to you by WI Prime, Wargames Illustrated Magazine's online members club. View more videos or find out more about WI Prime by following these links.